You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 81. Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from Educalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life. Hello and welcome to the Balanced Educator Podcast. Today, we are talking about how to introduce mindfulness into the classroom. The biggest hurdle is usually getting started, so we're going to kind of clear that roadblock for you today. But before we get started, we just want to share with you about our sponsor, Free Label.
We love Free Label so much, and for those people that are friends with us in person, they will see that we are always wearing Free Label, and then when people compliment us on the clothing, we can't stop talking about how much we love this brand. They are ethical, they use sustainable practices and fabrics, they are body positive, they are just the entire package.
We love it, and it's like amazing pieces that the quality is so amazing and they last forever and they're in style forever.
Yes, that is the thing. I have Free Label pieces that I've been wearing for years now that still, because they're simple and classic with like a little bit of extra fun flair with their kind of slightly different cuts. They just don't go out of style. I love it.
So check them out at educalm.com/free label. Let's dive into the show.
All right. So how do we introduce mindfulness for the very first time in our classroom? That's definitely a hurdle or a question that we get a lot.
Yes. Yeah, that is the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody's interested in starting a mindfulness practice, but it's scary because it's different, it's new, we don't know how the students will react.
Yes. Whenever we're starting something new for the first time, our brain wants to tell us to beware. You know, it really wants to avoid failure. It really wants to avoid any negative experience. So our brain's going to kind of tell us to be worried about trying something new in the classroom for sure.
We were when we started this mindfulness practice in our classrooms.
Absolutely. So, I mean, as teachers, we know that some of our lessons go super well and some of them just don't pan out the way that we had planned. And that is totally okay. So, but for some reason, I think teachers have a little bit more worry when it comes to starting a mindfulness practice and doing that lesson for the first time than other things. And I think it's because mindfulness is pretty new in terms of bringing that into the classroom. It's not a regular practice that all teachers are doing quite yet. So it feels like a higher risk for some reason.
Yeah, and I think that just social emotional learning in general it's often like when we read about it, it's like, oh yes, it's important, but there aren't always really concrete strategies and ways to teach it in the classroom, right?
That's actually feedback that we get so much from teachers, that they really want to teach social emotional learning. They know that it's so important and that it should be number one in the classroom, because once you are, meeting the need of your students' social and emotional development and learning and just meeting that base need, then you can start the teaching. But they know it's important, but they don't know how to start. They're like, I've been trained that it's important, but I haven't been trained how to do it.
And that's why we're here, to take it from up in the clouds to here on earth with concrete tools and strategies.
Exactly. So when we're starting a mindfulness practice in our classroom, we're deciding, okay, this is going to be a routine that we're going to start. We're going to do this with our students every day. How do we start that very first lesson?
So today we're going to share with you like a step-by-step lesson plan. And it can be found in our free trial at educalm.com. Click on try it now for free. and
It's
you'll
all,
have access to this.
yeah, it's all written out. All the instructions are there, but we'll walk you through it now.
So before getting started with this lesson, this introductory lesson, what we really like to do is to make a sparkle jar. And then we use the sparkle jar for the lesson. So before we even get into the lesson, I'll just give you some quick instructions on how to make the sparkle jar. There's a lot of different ways, but I found that the simplest is to just get a jar, preferably plastic, because, you know, you never know with glass in the classroom. And then you put some sparkles in it. You put about a third, any type of soap. I usually use dish soap, and then add water, 2/3 of, like, to fill it up. Leave a little bit of space at the bottom. And then if you're worried, like if kids are going to play with it, you might want to glue the lid, so that it doesn't spill at all. And that's just that. You can also use like school glue instead of the soap.
And that makes it a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can also use sparkle glue. But this little visual sparkle jar is awesome for teaching the lesson that we're about to share with you, because kids get it way more when they can see what we're talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, should we dive into the actual lesson?
Yeah, let's do it. So once you have your sparkle jar, you kind of, I like to sort of have it hidden from my students so that they don't see it right away. Then I really like to start this sitting in a circle or in kind of a formation that is good for discussion. So it's less like a lesson that you're teaching in front of the classroom and more a discussion time altogether.
Setting the tone.
Yes, exactly. So it feels a little bit more informal. So the first thing that you do with your students once you're all sitting down is you ask, hey, has anyone here ever felt a really big emotion, like maybe anger or frustration? And then you yourself, you raise your hand because you're a human. Of course you felt those emotions. And then you'll start seeing your students' hands go up. Oh yeah. And they'll kind of look around and see, oh yeah, okay, everyone's kind of raising their hand.
And if they're the younger students, like grade 1, 2, they'll tell you exactly all of the stories.
Oh yes, definitely. So,
no shame.
No, they are not worried to tell you. So yeah, with the younger grades, asking them, have you ever felt a big emotion like frustration or anger? And then everyone kind of puts up their hands, and then you smile and say, yeah, of course we've all felt that. We're humans. We all feel big emotions. That's so normal. And then, so kind of creating that rapport and that like showing them that they can be comfortable to tell you the truth. It's not a bad thing that you have negative emotions. That is normal. Okay, so now we're going to talk about it, sort of thing. So once everyone's put up their hands about, yes, I've experienced big emotions, then you can say, put your hands down. And then I like to say, okay, so now I have another question. I'd like to know, has anyone here done something while they were feeling that big emotion of frustration or anger that they wouldn't have done when they were calm? And then, they kind of look around at each other like, should I admit to this? And then you put your hand up. And then usually then they go, okay, yeah, I feel comfortable putting my hand up. Generally, all the students' hands go up because they can all think of a time when they've done something that they regretted after.
And again, with the little ones, they're very verbal about.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes I'll give an example too. I'll say, depending on the age, so say we're kind of going with younger kids. Once you say, have you ever done something when you were feeling angry or frustrated that you wouldn't have done if you were calm? Like maybe thrown something or hit someone or said something mean to someone that you wouldn't have done if you were feeling happy. So giving them a couple examples. And then they go, oh, yeah, I've definitely done something like that before.
And for example, like with my grade 5 and 6 students last year, I gave an example in my own real life to tell them what I've done when I was frustrated and angry so that they would speak also after, because otherwise with the grade 6s, you know, they don't necessarily want to talk about these things. But once I gave my example, then they were more open to share theirs.
Yeah, makes total sense. So that they're mirroring you. When you're open, they're going to be more open. When you feel comfortable sharing with them authentically, they'll feel comfortable sharing with you authentically. So then the next step, after having established the fact that yes, we all feel big emotions, and yes, sometimes we do things when we're feeling big emotions that we wouldn't have done if we were feeling calm, it starts to kind of trigger the fact that, ooh, yeah, it doesn't feel good when we do things like that, right? Your kids, all humans want to be good.
Yes.
Right? So when we do something that is mean or lashing out, like it doesn't make us feel good to do that. We generally feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
So then that's when I pull out the sparkle jar and I say, this represents your brain. I show it to them. And then I say, when we're feeling a big emotion, and then I shake up the bottle and I say, it's like these sparkles in the jar. Those big emotions make it hard for us to think clearly because our mind is busy and full of emotion. And that's very visual and obvious for them. Like they get that. I've done that from grade 1 all the way to grade 12, and they get it.
It works so much better than not having it.
Yes.
I've tried both ways.
Yeah. That visual just really makes it concrete and understandable for them.
That's what we're all about. Concrete tools.
Yes. So then all the kids are looking at this sparkle jar that I've just shaken up and said that the sparkles represent the emotions and that you can't see clearly and it's hard to make good decisions when your mind is full of this emotion sparkles. And then I say, and you know, it usually doesn't feel good to be full of these big emotions and it be hard for us to concentrate. But the good thing is we have tools and strategies that we can use to help settle the sparkles of our mind, to calm down so that we can think clearly and make good decisions.
And what's amazing is that by the time you've said that, usually all the sparkles are back down at the bottom of the jar.
Exactly. So, and usually the students are pretty, like they're really looking at that sparkle jar because it's new, it's interesting, and they're watching the sparkles settle. And when I say that, I do purposely speak in a really calm tone. You know, we'll be learning, or there's strategies that we can use that can help us to settle these sparkles. And then I'll usually say, like taking some deep breaths. Then after that, I'll put the jar, usually the sparkles are still moving at this point. So I put the jar on the ground and I say, I'm going to teach you something now that's going to help us to calm our body and mind so that we can make good decisions. It's called 5-finger breathing. So then I demonstrate 5-finger breathing and get them to do it with me. So I say, put one hand in front of you, use the index finger from your other hand, and we're going to trace our hand while we take deep, slow breaths to calm our body and mind.
Let's all actually do it together.
Yes. Inhale, trace up your thumb. Exhale, trace down. Inhale, trace up your index finger. Exhale, trace down. Inhale, trace up your middle finger. Exhale, trace down. Inhale, trace up your ring finger. Exhale, down. Inhale, trace up your pinky. Exhale, down. And notice how you feel. So usually by then, you can tell that just everyone in the class has settled a little bit. The energy of the room is more relaxed. And by then, usually the sparkles are all the way to the bottom of the sparkle jar. So then I say, see, when we take the time to breathe, it helps the emotions, like the sparkles in the jar, settle so that now we can see clearly and make good decisions. And then I just simply say, so for the rest of the school year, we're going to be doing learning practices at the beginning of every day where we're going to learn how to notice when we're feeling a big emotion and use strategies to calm down so that we can think clearly and make good decisions.
And also, opening up giving them the opportunity to ask questions if they have any.
Yes, definitely.
Because it's often very new to them.
Oh, for sure. Most students have never heard of mindfulness or these sort of breathing exercises, breathing practices to help them calm down. It's brand new to them. So this little lesson doesn't take long. I mean, it can definitely go longer if you choose to really infuse a lot of discussion when you're talking about emotions. You know, you can definitely go into depth of what kind of big emotions have you felt before? Has anyone felt angry or scared or frustrated, and naming those emotions
and the situations they were in?
Yeah, giving them the chance to kind of tell stories of times that they felt big emotions, and even times where they felt a big emotion and then did something that they wouldn't have done when they were feeling calm. Really kind of opens up the floor to this open discussion about emotions and showing that it's not a bad thing. It's part of being human. And we can learn strategies that help us to make good decisions even when we're feeling these big, difficult emotions. So that's the way that I do it with the younger kids. I would say like grade 6 and under. With older kids, usually by grade 7, this would connect with them. This next way that I teach it would connect with them really well. Definitely in high school, I would go this route as well. So with them, it's kind of the exact same lesson, except I ask different questions. So instead of just saying, has anyone here felt a big emotion? I'll say that. And then I'll also add in, how about this? Has anyone here ever studied for a test, felt like they were ready for it, like they knew the information, and then they sat down to the test and there was a question they knew, you know the answer to it, but it's almost like the information just fell out of your brain. You can't seem to access that information.
You're blanking.
And it feels frustrating because you know it, but why can't you get it to your mind? So then I explain that when we're feeling big emotions, like if we're feeling anxious about a test or worried about a test, it's really hard for our brain to think clearly and access our memories. So that's when I pull out the sparkle jar and shake it. And I say, when we come into a test and we're feeling anxious or worried, our emotions, like these sparkles, make it really difficult for us to think clearly and remember clearly. But good news, there are practices we can do that help us to settle these sparkles in the sparkle jar, settle the emotions and the worry in our mind so that we can again think clearly, make good decisions, and access our memories. So now I'm going to show you a practice that we can do. We'll try it together that helps to clear our mind when we're feeling a big emotion. And then throughout the year, we're going to keep practicing different ways to help ourselves to calm down and clear our mind when we're feeling big emotions. So just a slightly different access point with the older kids. I think that test anxiety is so big. Or I'll also bring, if we have a discussion, we'll talk about, what about giving presentations? Like, does anyone here get worried about giving presentations and you don't do your best? So that really connects with the older grades, I find.
So my question now is with the older grades, because I've never done this with the older grades. You're the expert in that. Would you do 5-finger breathing or would you choose something different?
I actually do 5-finger breathing with the older kids too. And the older kids like the 5-finger breathing. Adults like 5-finger breathing. I will give the explanation after we do 5-finger breathing that this is one breathing strategy that we can use. But if you don't feel comfortable actually tracing your hand in front of other students in the classroom when you're feeling a big emotion, you can imagine yourself tracing your hand or count 5 breaths, but making sure that it's slow, deep breaths. Because when we do that, it calms our body and it calms our mind.
Very nice.
Yeah. 5-finger breathing is just so visual. It's so easy for people to connect to.
Adults, like a lot of adults love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this lesson is in our online mindfulness program, Educalm Classroom, which you can check out at educalm.com. Now, in Educalm Classroom, we give you guys absolutely everything you need to have a mindfulness practice in your classroom.
No prep required. Best thing ever.
Yeah. So Educalm Classroom is a membership. And when you enroll, you get access to, like I said, everything you need. So you'll have access to the core practice. So these are 2 or 5 minute audio recordings that you'll listen to daily to prepare your students for calm and focused learning. Now, the great thing is you don't need to facilitate these practices. So you don't need to be the one that's guiding them through a mindfulness practice. You just have to press play and you get to listen with them, which means you get to learn along with them. So you get to participate, not facilitate.
And you get to feel calm and focused. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a great way to start the day and to habitually make social emotional learning a part of your day in a really structured way, so it's not falling by the wayside.
And actually, we have a whole episode just on structuring this into the day, and that is episode 65. If you're interested, we will put in the show notes.
Exactly. And that brings us to the next part, the next thing that you have in your Educalm Classroom membership, which is training. So we have training videos for you in your membership so that you can learn exactly how to structure this into your classroom in a way that you're going to have the most success. So you don't have to worry about, am I doing this right? We're going to teach you exactly how to do it. The next thing that you get are lesson plans and printables. So this is a really great way for you to take the core practice, those audios that you're listening to with your students every day, and infuse it into your regular teaching curriculum. So you have inclusive activities, projects, discussion topics, and lots more. We have posters, all different ways for you to round out this practice and, bring it into writing activities, reading activities, like oral projects. Great way to infuse it into the day.
There's tons of projects in there that are really useful.
Yeah. And with the lesson plans and printables, you don't have to use all of them. It's nice. It's this bank that you can go into and whichever unit you're really interested in linking to your actual teaching curriculum, you'll have whatever you need to do that. The next thing that you get as part of your Educalm Classroom membership is community. We have the most amazing community of teachers in the Educalm community.
Seriously.
Every time that we meet any teacher that's using our program or that listens to this podcast like you, everyone is just so kind and supportive and positive and uplifting and just like the types of teachers that you want to be friends with. So we've created a space for community and connection. So this way you can connect with other teachers, ask questions, talk about, what's going well, give advice. Really great way to connect and know that you're not alone in this. You're not the only one that cares about social emotional learning. There's this whole community behind you. So we invite you to join us in Educalm Classroom. You can go to educalm.com to do so. And awesome part too is we also have a free trial. So this free trial is great because you get access to the first unit in Educalm Classroom so you can try it out and see how it works for you. There's no end to this free trial. So you don't have to try to fit it in within 14 days or something like that. You get access to it forever. You can use it for as long as you want until you're ready to move into the full Educalm Classroom membership. So in the free trial, you have, like I said, the first unit, which is our introduction unit. So it's going to really easily show you and guide you through and give you everything you need to start this practice in your classroom with success. So the free trial does include that training video that's going to teach you exactly how to use this program. It includes the core practice, the audios, and in our intro, we actually have both 2 and 5-minute audios, so you can choose the length that you think is going to be the right fit for you and your students in your classroom. And then we have the lesson plans and printables that really make it easy for you to infuse this into your regular teaching. There's posters in there to put up in the classroom.
There's a little activity to do at the end of the unit.
Yes.
So good.
So good. So if you want to get started with your free trial, go to educalm.com, educalme.com, and get started with a free trial. So your exit ticket for today is to get started with a free trial. Check it out. See if it's the right fit for you. Go to educalm.com. And when you start the free trial, you get access to that introduction unit, which includes the lesson that we explained today, the sparkle jar lesson.
And next week, we will be talking about morning meeting, how to incorporate it in the classroom, why it's important, and we're going to give you some fun, concrete activities that you can do during morning meeting with your students.
Thank you so much for being here.
We appreciate you so much.
We really do. You're doing amazing things in the world, and we just love having you as part of this community.
Have a great week.
Bye. Worry, stress, and anxiety are a reality in today's schools. When students are distracted, their brains aren't ready for learning. Getting them to calm down and focus can feel impossible. Don't feel helpless, frustrated, or overwhelmed any longer. Get Educalm Classroom, our online mindfulness program that's transforming classrooms and improving student wellness and learning. With Educalm Classroom, students and teachers learn concrete strategies and common vocabulary to manage emotions and behaviors. They both leave the classroom better equipped to overcome life's challenges. In your Educalm Classroom membership, you'll get a full year of ready-to-use audio, video, and printable mindfulness lessons for the classroom, plus access to a caring and supportive community of like-minded teachers. Try Educalm Classroom for free by going to www.educalm.com. Educalm is spelled EDUCALME. Thrive in a calm learning atmosphere.